Hello, and thank you for taking the time to have a little look at the presentation on why you should consider A-level RE as an option in the sixth form. Now, I normally do this as sort of teaching it like a little lesson, and it should only be maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll just go through each of the slides just to give you a little bit of a flavour of what A-level RE is normally like. So quite often we start with things which are called thought experiments, and we would have a stimulus. We would ask you to think about this and what would we do in different situations. So I don't know if you recognise any of these people. So have a little look. I think bottom right should be pretty obvious. Okay, so what we have here is we have the Moore, if I just show you, we have the Moors murderers at the top. In the middle, we have Harold Shipman, who was I think he was Britain's biggest serial killer. Hitler at the bottom, and then on the bottom left we have someone called Irma Geese. These are the big debate is in philosophy: what is evil, what causes evil, how can we explain evil? But then if you were to look at ethics, quite often some of the thinkers would say, well, what do you actually mean by the word evil? Is evil actually a real thing, or is it just basically an opinion or a social construct? And so we would look at different thinkers. Ayer is a very famous thinker, and he's really interested in language and how we use language. And he would suggest that possibly saying that someone is evil is just really an indication of an action that you disapprove of, that there is no such thing as evil at all. So we would look and would analyze these different ideas. Does that actually describe people accurately or not? Henley and Brady, I don't know if you know, Brady's just died recently, were like to sort of kidnap children. They tortured them and they buried their bodies. And Brady, he was a complete narcissist, refused to say where some of the bodies were buried, right to the very end. So we would be looking at different ideas. You know, what do we actually mean by evil? Oh, my PowerPoint doesn't want to move on. Let's just click on. Another thing that we might look at would be a thought experiment called the trolley problem. Now, this won't play, but if you actually sort of Google it, you can see what it is. It's a very famous thought experiment done in ethics about what would you personally do if you were in a situation, how would you react? And the aim of philosophy and ethics is to try and give you a bit of a guideline. There are different models that you could follow. So, for example, there is one which is called utilitarianism. And it's based on this idea. So you've got to imagine that there is a train that's moving quite fast, and the train driver has had a heart attack and died. Now, you can actually stop the train, but how are you going to do it? By stopping the train, you might end up killing someone. So what we have in this situation here is you've got 5 people on the railway, or do you pull a switch that moves the railway, moves the actual train, sorry, to a different one, and you just kill one person? You still have to kill a person, but who are you going to do? Which one are you going to do? Are you going to go straight forward, not do anything, and it'll just kill the 5 people? Or are you actively going to do something? And this is a bit of a thought experiment. We have hundreds of these sorts of ideas, like what would you do in this case? And then we try to link in what different thinkers would say. So, for example, Thomas Aquinas believes in natural law. If things are meant to be, they're meant to be. If you're utilitarianism, you try and do the greatest happiness for the greatest number. So you would then switch and change onto the spur, and you would kill that one person, and you would save the 5. So that's a little example of the sorts of ideas that we would be looking at. Interestingly, I don't know if you recognise this this little screen grab here. It's the Squid Game. I love the Squid Game. My A-level students told me to watch it, and they were able to immediately link in lots of ethical ideas that we talk about. What would you do in these situations? So that was a bit of fun. And what you'll probably find is that everything that we do can link into something that's really quite current at the minute. Then, so that was a little bit about philosophy. What would you do in different situations? What are your ethics? What are your values? How do we as a society decide what to do? In philosophy, we start off with some ancient thought. We start off with people like Socrates and his student Plato. And Plato was very interested in why do things change all the time? Everything seems to be in a constant state of flux. There must be things that are real, and possibly we are just imitations of that reality. And he devised this kind of thought about that we actually live in two worlds, a world of forms in which we have ideal forms, blueprints for things, and then the world of appearances, and we need to decide which is which. Again, this is inspired in the media and in films, ideas such as The Matrix, what is real, what is not real, The Truman Show. I don't know if anyone's actually seen that as well. So very much philosophy can influence a lot of modern cultural ideas. These ideas have been around for a long, long, long time, and people can keep going back and revisiting them again and again and again because they're very, very interesting. Well, I think they're very interesting. So, he's a little bit old hat now, but of course, in politics, Donald Trump would actually always talk about things being fake news. So what is real? Even now, we're actually thinking, in the world of the soundbite, is that real? What is real? What is truth? And even the question is truth an important value these days? Is it something that we actually need to get to the bottom to? So that's a little bit about philosophy. So the course is divided into three. We have ethics, we have philosophy, and then we also look at Eastern philosophy. And for us, that is Buddhism. So it very much links into ideas, if you remember from your GCSE days, of anicca and anatta, what is real, what is not real. We look at the history of it. We look at the political times. There's a little bit of history there, and politics as well as religion. We need to delve into a bit of the Vedic tradition, which is Hinduism, and why did the Buddha 2,500 years ago, contemporary of Jesus, decide to reject his religion and form this new path of philosophy. So that is very interesting. Lots of students find that interesting because we also focus a lot on the history of China and Japan and how Buddhism sort of migrated into those areas and how they adopted and adapted the religion to bring in ideas of the religion of Bon and Shintoism as well. So there's a little bit of a recap. You'd probably see this in all the blurb that you get whenever you come to make a decision. But A-level RE is divided into the three sections. Philosophy, so we have a little look of Plato, Aristotle. Once we look at their arguments, so Plato is very much looks at a priori knowledge. So what do we already know? For him, we are born with knowledge. We just need to recollect it, remember it. Aristotle's very much scientific, a posteriori, and he wants to look at the approach of using evidence and how evidence can help us make our minds up about what is real and what's not real. We then develop that into arguments for and against the existence of God, which is very much traditional philosophy of religion. And then we dabble a little bit in psychology. We look at the influence of religious experience and how we can quantify and justify that. Problems of evil and justice. There are many different theories on that. Language, what do we actually mean by good? What do we mean by yellow? For example, there was that famous example a few years ago of the dress. Was the dress gold and black, or was it blue? Do we all see the same things? Is our language just a social construct? So we look at that. And then we also look at ideas about life after death. So really it's the concept of the soul. It's called the mind, body, soul problem. And we compare very much what people like Plato and Descartes would say with scientists such as Richard Dawkins and lots of psychologists as well. So RE, though it's mainly from a religious point of view, we do actually make inroads into science and psychology and sociology and some politics as well. So kind of links through. Ethics, we have our different situations there. We have utilitarianism, situation ethics, natural law. Kant should be there as well, Immanuel Kant, which is German philosophy. Language, And then we also look at medical ethics. We apply it as well. We apply it not only just to medicine, but also business studies as well. And then Buddhism is pretty much a little bit of a reworking of what you did at GCSE, but we go into it at a much, much deeper level, and we spread out, not just looking at the Indian tradition, but looking at the Far Eastern one as well. Okay, so why do we do religious studies? One, because it's an amazing subject, but interestingly, it's seen as a really good foundation for you to study other things as well. Many of my students have gone on to do journalism, medicine, psychology, journalism, law, history, as well as RE itself. They've done that. But interestingly, Oxford University said that for the students who studied PPE, which is philosophy, politics and economics, which many, many people such as David Cameron, Bill Clinton, lots of politicians study this, all had a background at A-level RE because it's got really important critical thinking skills, which will help you in whatever degree level you choose to do. You don't need any special requirements at all. You don't need to even have done GCSE, but you do need to have an interest in history, politics, the world around you, and your English has got to be of good standard. So it really should be a 5, 6 and above. 5 and 6 is good because there will be quite a lot of reading to do, but we let you in gently to that. Okay, here's the sort of questions that you might be asked just so you get a little flavour of it. So good is a meaningless statement. Ethics provides the best approach to business. To what extent is Freud's psychological approach to conscience the most helpful approach? And nirvana cannot be explained. So these are our type of essays. It starts off with a statement with discuss, very traditional. These would be worth 40 marks. But obviously, we will teach you the kind of method and the way to answer these sorts of questions. But as you can see, these are the sorts of questions that would very much prepare you for university level writing. And even if you don't want to go on to university, many of my students find them really, really useful. It's how you actually get down to the nitty gritty of unpacking a problem and how would you go about answering it. So I have a few little testimonials from students which you might want to read there, a few little scribblings out, but I currently have 7 students. Usually it's taught in small classes, very active. People feel that they can express their own point of view. You don't have to talk. I've got lots of students who like to listen, but then they will feel quite passionate about something and they'll chip in. So that's a few little testimonials there which you may want to read. Obviously I've left the best to last. There you go. In fact, the Miss Ocky and Miss Dale are our teachers is very complimentary of them. So that's a little overview of what we do for A-level RE. If you're interested, I think later on the year, Mr. Hayden will be organising some taster sessions and you can sort of have a little bit more of a look. Please feel free to ask Mr. Hayden or me or Miss Parrish or Miss Dale any questions at all if you're interested in pursuing A-level RE. Okay, so thank you for listening and I hope that hasn't taken too long. Okay, thank you. Bye.